Yo, how's it going, YouTube? I'm back from the video, and today I'm going to be talking about the move that will haunt the Phoenix Suns for years to come, and that move being the fact that they let Jalen Smith go by trading him to the Indiana Pacers. And I'll be getting to a few reasons why I think this Jalen Smith move could really backfire on the Phoenix Suns a lot, or at least might not work out for them in the long run. And if you aren't familiar with who Jalen Smith is, or you don't know him that much as a player, I will introduce you to him and everything like that. So don't worry, I'll get all that in this video, and if that does sound interesting to you, please watch the video all the way through and hit the like button and subscribe button. It means the absolute world to me. And without further ado, without running on too much, let's get right into this video. Alright, so the first thing I want to get for this video is going to be basically Jalen Smith's early career and his career up to this point, so y'all can really get a feel of who Jalen Smith is, for at least those of you that don't know who he is that much or haven't kept up with his career as much as I have so far. So Jalen Smith was the 10th overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft by the Phoenix Suns. And really, after he was drafted for the next 3 years, he basically got zero opportunity with the Suns because the Suns were trying to win championships, and it is fully understandable why the Suns weren't able to ever use him, and that's because they had DeAndre Ayton, so he was never going to be their starting center. Then they wanted more veteran, high-level players already, more established players to really fill in the 4 spot and the backup spots, and they had players like JaVale McGee on their roster as well for a long time, so Jalen Smith would have really had a very hard time fitting in. And then on top of that, if you look at Jalen Smith going into the draft, he was one of those guys that you would draft off of his potential versatility, and although he isn't a full-on unicorn type player, he kind of fits that mold a little bit, being a very tall guy who can block shots. He can also shoot the ball from the perimeter a little bit, while also just being an all-around solid rim protector and still being able to do all the things a big man can do. So that is basically kind of, he was behind the 8 ball from the jump of his career, because the Suns were never going to be able to fully try to develop him and give him the playing time and opportunities he needed due to the situation where the Suns were in, where they were trying to win a finals, kind of leaving him out to dry. And that really did show, because as in the 2 seasons that he was with the Phoenix Suns, he was able to muster together a staggering and very impressive stat line of 4.1 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, and not even 1 assist per game. So to say that his career may have gotten off to a little bit of a rocky start would probably be an understatement, but once again, that was also not fully his fault, as once again the Suns weren't in the business of trying to develop their young talent that they drafted at the time. They were fully in the business of winning rings. Now, although that has not worked out for them either, and they're kind of screwing themselves both ways, it is at least understandable to why he was not averaging pretty much anything, but there were starting to be a little bit of questions popping up asking if Jalen Smith was a bust or not. And when his stock was at an all-time low, they shipped him off to the Indiana Pacers, who were rebuilding and still are rebuilding, and they traded him for Torrey Craig. But since joining the Indiana Pacers, through 25 games with the team, he is averaging 13.3 points per game, 1 block per game, 8 rebounds per game on 60% shooting from the field. So he is really looking like now that he's finally getting this opportunity in his NBA career, he is really showing out and showing why he was picked so high in the lottery and showing the potential that got him drafted in the first place. So I think it is very impressive what he's doing with Indiana so far, and his ceiling is just still extremely high, because like I said, the whole reason Smith was drafted so high was because of how versatile he can play and how positionless basketball is becoming more and more important in today's NBA. He kind of fits that mold in a perfect way, because he is a 7'2" center who can pretty much do everything you want on the floor, from shooting the 3-pointer. Now, although he's not extremely efficient at it, he still can space the floor, and you have to respect him at least to a respectable extent as a defense. He's also a very good player in blocking shots, and he's also a solid just all-around defender and scorer as well. So he is a very nice player for the Indiana Pacers, especially a young guy that has as much potential and versatility as Jalen Smith. To pair that with someone like Isaiah Jackson, another very versatile big man that they have, and both of them starting at the same time, it has been very fun for them to watch, and they have been putting together one of the best defensive front courts in the entire NBA, and both of them are so young, they perfectly fit this rebuilding Pacers team. Now, when Miles Turner does get fully healthy, one of them is going to be moved to the bench. Obviously, it'll probably be Isaiah Jackson, but for the time being, with how young they are and with this team actually kind of overperforming what they were expected to be going into this season, they have been very, very fun to watch. Jalen Smith has continued and picked up where he left off last season and has been playing very, very solid, and I think the Pacers found themselves a very nice piece for years and years to come, and he is on the same timeline as a lot of their young players like Bennedict Mathurin and Tyrese Halliburton, Isaiah Jackson, and other young players like that, and I think that he is going to be with this team for a long time and be a big piece of it as well, and I think that he is turning around his career, and he may be able to haunt the Phoenix Suns for years and years to come, because if the Phoenix Suns do end up in not winning the ring this year, they're going to run into some very, very major problems, because they already have tons of money wrapped up in their big four players, which is Mikal Bridges, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton, who they just had to pay an absolute bag this offseason, and going into next offseason, they have to pay someone like Cameron Johnson, who, although they're not going to have to give him the absolute bag, they're going to have to give him a very pretty penny as well, and that is going to be a lot of money wrapped around their just 5 guys on this roster, while all of their role players as well are pretty much on expiring deals, and Jay Crowder has expressed how he just will not play for the Phoenix Suns at this point because they wanted him to come off the bench. So the Suns, if they don't win a ring this year, are going to be in a very, very dire situation, and I'm sure they would love to have a guy like Jalen Smith who can do anything you want on a court, who is still on a very small and sizable contract, and I'm sure they would love to have someone like him. So if they do end up having to blow it all up and trying to tank after this season because Chris Paul's getting too old, DeAndre Ayton's still upset that they didn't pay him at the original point, then Devin Booker doesn't want to be in a bad team, they have to get rid of Jay Crowder because he doesn't want to be there, and they can't pay any of their role players, Jalen Smith would have been a great player for them to at least have somewhat of a foundation to build around and help just have a solid young guy to have going into the future, and they no longer have that. And then even say that they go in the next offseason and they don't have to blow everything up and they keep the same core and pay Cameron Johnson, but all their role players leave them. It would once again be very nice to have someone like Jalen Smith on your bench that you don't have to pay a bag and he's not going to be too expensive, that can still get you around 10 points per game, protect the rim, and do everything you want your big man to do, plus a little bit of extra. So I just think trading Jalen Smith for what they did, I don't think that's going to end up being worth it in the long run for the Phoenix Suns, and I think it's probably going to hurt them actually more than it helped them in the long run, and I think he would have helped them win more games at this point than someone like Jay Crowder, obviously, because Jay Crowder refuses to play. So overall, I just think it was a big mistake for the Phoenix Suns to trade Jalen Smith, and I think it is going to come back and blow up in their face a little bit going into the future. But unfortunately, guys, that's my review. So comment below, do you agree with me? Do you think that Jalen Smith is going to be a very solid player in this league? How good do you think he can be? All your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like, point the like button, subscribe button, it would mean the absolute world to me. And I hope you have a blessed day. Can I have a blessed day? So you can have a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah.